Hello everyone, welcome to Painting Crafty. It's another day of draw-alongs and a little bit of watercolor we're going to be doing today. For those who might be new, my name is Melanie and I'm glad that you're here. And my returning friends, I'm so glad you're here too. Let's take a look at our drawings today. Now for those who might like to have a little bit of help with drawing, I do have a Ko-fi page. It's like rather a Patreon page. It's very reasonably priced, but that's where I host all of the tracers for my drawings that I do inside of YouTube, and it's a subscription, pretty reasonably priced. You could also pop over there and buy me a cup of coffee if you would like to, if you are finding value here. Well, let's take a look at what we're going to be drawing today. This fun little patriotic, well, he's a little tuxedo kitty that's riding in the back of this little bicycle basket. I'm going to show you the steps. I'm going to break them down and make them a little easier to follow along so we can draw this bicycle and the little kitty that's sitting in there. And we're going to be doing these little patriotic flower little basket there. These are very similar to the other like loose watercolors that we did for our other patriotic drawing. And I'll put that link down in the comments if you would like to follow along to make a big one. Very easy and fun to do. Well, let's take a look at some of the drawing steps. Well, I'm going to be showing you the bicycle first because that's the main component of it. Now, I'm drawing on a 6x6 piece of paper, but it doesn't really matter. You can grid it off and get the proportions right, but I always say what size I'm drawing on so then you can see the line work, and I'm going to grid it off so then that'll give you a better idea of how large I'm making things and where I'm putting them. Now, I want to say, with all that being said, I want to say this is a whimsical bicycle style. It's not exact. So don't get caught up too much in the details. As long as you have some of the structures correct, even if the perspective is wrong and the wheel spokes look kind of odd, it's still going to read like a bicycle. So keep in mind, have fun with this and just try it. So what I'm doing here is I divide my paper up into a grid. I go down one down the middle and then one the middle this way. That just helps me give a grid for how I'm drawing my pictures and to be able to tell you where I'm placing it. This is actually what you would download as the tracer if you were to get the tracer subscription. I also highly recommend using a light box. If you do that, there's a video on my page as well to show you how you can use a light box to do the tracers. Makes it super simple and easy to copy the image. Well, let's take a look. Here we are. So this would be the dividing line down my middle, and this right here is the center of the page. So it's a little lower because I'm going to show you just the bike. And then this little dash line is actually the halfway point in between here. That's where I'm going to be starting the little sprocket, or that little piece down there where I don't even know exactly what the name of it is, but that's where the pedal piece is going to be. We're going to start there. That's going to be about the size of a dime. So I'm going to look right here. I'm going to let you see both of these so you can kind of get an idea. So you'll have all of the views. So this is my cross area here. I'm going to start with this piece here. So this is my round piece. This is where the little button is going to go. And then I'm going to make my round piece about the size of a dime, but it doesn't have to be exact. So I'm going to start that piece of my bicycle. Now I'm going to pop over and I'm going to do my big wheel here. Now this one is exactly sideways, so it is more round. And if I take a look, here's my center line. So it's right up here. I'm going to be building this underneath here. So I'm going to be able to put, if you look right here, you can see how much space I have. Not a lot of space there. I'm getting kind of cozy to that tire. I like using a sketchy movement with my hand so that I don't have to feel like I have to draw a circle right away. And again, it's not about being exact. It's just about putting some shapes in. So there is my back tire. Now let's take a look at my front tire. This circle is not an exact round circle because my wheel is turned slightly. So I'm going to have more of an oblong circle, but my wheels are still lined up here and the top of it is still lined up at the top. So I'm going to be drawing a sideways, a little bit of a squishier circle, more of an oblong circle is going to be in there. So I'm going to be popping that shape in here. Now there is more room here. If you look here, that's a little bit more room here. I'm closer back here, but I have more distance in that area. So I'm just going to be creating that circle that looks something like that. Now let's go ahead and connect my bicycle back here. So this shape, I'm not for sure exactly what to call it, but maybe like a putter or something like that, where it's kind of got a little bit bigger end. I'm going to be coming over the top of my wheel. So I'm going to be encasing this. This is what's going to cover up that chain part of your bicycle. I'm going to come around, make a little kind of a loop around, come up, and then come back into my bike. Now this part is going to be covered up by a flag, so we're not going to see too much of that. Now if it helps to erase, you can come in with your eraser and erase a little bit if you need to. Now I'm never going to be able to draw this the exact 2 times in a row, but we're going to get close enough. We're still going to give it a bicycle feel. It's still going to read like it's a bicycle. So we have our wheels. We have one straight, one a little oblong. Now let's go ahead and put the seat in. So now we are above my center line here. So I'm going to start with this little shape. You can make your bicycle seat any shape you want to, but this has kind of got a sideways line here, comes out with a U, and makes a little bit of a dip. So I'm going to be placing my bicycle seat. It's going to be closer back here onto the start is when I'm going to be starting on this side over on that side of my center line. So I'm going to have just a slight of an angle, just a little bit of an angle. I'm going to come straight across here, do that little bit of a U. This is where you kind of straddle it. And then we're going to come over and around like this. We're going to make this a little bit more rounded. Now these are going to look different every time. And you can draw it however you want to. You remember those big long banana seats when you were a kid? You could even do one of those with the big long banana seats. I had one of those on my bike. Did you have one on your bike? Pop it in the comments if you had, put banana in there, if you had a banana seat on your bicycle. So there we have our bicycle seat. Now we need to go ahead and make some connector pieces for our bicycle. So we're going to come at an angle here to make our seat connect to this next area here. So this is just an angle. If you see, here's my center line. I'm going to be coming at an angle, and it's going to connect up to whatever we're calling this shape here, the chain cover. It's going to connect to that. Now we're going to be making our, let's finish up our basket area, or put in a place mark for our basket area, because that's going to determine where our handles are going to be. So if I look here, here's that center line. So here is my center line. I'm going to put my basket here. This is kind of a flatter U shape. So that's where my basket is going to be. And now I can run my lines here coming up to my basket. So this would be the support pieces of the front part of your basket. This could be straight lines. I made mine a little curvy, as you can see here, so that a little bit of an S shape. We're going to come here, up we go, there we go. We're going to come this way, up, there. We need 2 of these, so we're going to double up again. This one's going to come more towards the bottom of my basket. And now we have our part of our bicycle connected there. Let's work on this part. This is kind of the horseshoe piece that's connecting our wheel with our bicycle. This is a long horseshoe piece. This is going to come underneath our basket and kind of shoot for the center of your tire. So I'm going to be looking, here's the center of my tire. I'm going to come up with my horseshoe piece. It's going to go over this way, and it's going to come in slightly as I come down. So it's not a complete U. It's got a little bit of a curve that's going to come in a little narrower there. And we're going to double this line up. So we're going to come up, we're going to double it around, and then come over. Now I need to clean this up just a little bit to be able to show you what we're doing, or maybe I could just show you from the top here. So if you see how I made my tire pieces, my horseshoe piece is going in front here, but it's behind my bicycle here. So I'm not going to be seeing those lines that are coming down from my horseshoe piece. That is going to be the fender of my bicycle. So I'm going to erase a little bit of this, kind of settle on where my line is going to be. So I can figure out where my tire is. I'm going to settle on this line, come around here, make my tire like that. And then this piece is going to be in front. This one will be behind. So the tire is going to be in front of that little horseshoe piece. Now we need to go ahead and we're going to make a line that's coming across here. So this is the center of my piece. So it's going to help make it look like my tire is slightly shifted. So by making this piece come here at an angle, it's slightly shifted. Now let's double up on our wheel a little bit. So I'm going to start on, well, you know what? Let's do the fender. The fender is going to start off to the side here. We're going to copy it around. This isn't going to be exact. I'm not going to get worried about my perspective. The only thing I'm going to think about is that this piece here is covering and going over my tire. So it's going to go in front of that horseshoe piece here. It's going behind my horseshoe piece there. So I have a little bit of dimension. So you can see it's in front of my horseshoe piece here. It's behind there. All right, so we have our little piece here connected. Now let's work a little bit more on our tire, just to give it a little bit more dimension. We're going to have to double up on our lines. So here is where we're going to start. We're going to double this line here. We're going to come around. We're going to have an inside of our tire and the outside of our tire. Part of it, we're going to see the inside. The front one's the most complicated because it's turned slightly, but we're not going to get too caught up in the details. So we're going to start here. We're going to come down. I'm going to follow it around. And when I get to about this point, I'm kind of getting narrower. And then when I get to this part, I'm going to even off. So it's like wide here. I'm getting narrower and narrower, touching. Now I'm going to jump into the inside and follow my tire around to the top. So then it's going to look like my tire has the outside and an inside. So I started here, got narrower and narrower till I got to this point here. Then I jumped my line to the inside and followed around. Let's go ahead and make some spokes. Now this one, you can get as complicated as you want, or you can make them as simple as you want. I started here knowing that this was a spot where my spoke would be connected. So I ended up making a V shape here is what I ended up doing right away. And then I kind of came off and added some that were going to be coming around on my bicycle tire like that. Now you could stop at this and only just do the one, or you can get a little bit more complicated and crazy like I did my first time, and you can add a whole nother set off the back side of your little area too, which you could do if you want to. I'm going to come this way. I can add another crisscrossy ones over, but this is just totally how much work you want to do, but you can do just the one around and it'll look fine. And that's what I did on my back one. I only worked on just the one. So you decide how much effort and detail you want to put into your little tire. All right, we have our basket here. Let's put some handles. These are just little sideways loops. We're not going to see much there because this is where we're going to be putting a banner. You could put a banner, you could put streamers. This one is just these pennants that come up and down and across my basket. You can add as much detail as you want, and you don't even have to add those if you wanted to. You could just put the flowers in. So you can decide of how much detail you want. There's a little bit of a streamer work there too. Now we have this back one done. Let's go ahead and put the little area where the basket is going to be for my cat. So you can see this is just kind of a longer, skinnier little piece that comes on the top. There's a connector piece that comes this way and a little bit of a connector piece. Oh, we got to connect our bike back here too. So we have those two more pieces to do. So I'm going to come underneath here, do kind of that long, skinny hot dog bun shape. There we have it. And then now I can connect it like it's going at an angle. Look at your drawing, see where the center of your wheel might be. That's where you want to kind of go for. And a lot of that's going to be covered up because that's where the flag is going to go as well. Now we need to make a fender for this tire too. But before I do that, I'm going to make the wheel. I'm going to just follow the inside shape here all the way around. Like that. And then now let's put a fender in. So the fender is going to be kind of another piece on top. I'm going to give it a little bit of a shape, like a little bit of a shape at the end where it comes around, and we're going to come up. That's just going to read like a fender. And we're going to come around this area here. And we're going to do the fender on that area. So now I have my little fenders that are inside of or over top of my wheel is what I really want to say. Now let's put a flag in. Now the flag is just going to be a rectangle that comes down. The thing about the flag, and I'll show you the colored copy one, is that you're going to have this 6 stripes when it's coming straight down. So this one would be a red and this would be a red on the outside, and then you would layer your striping in. It's always good to put the red one here at the end of your blue field. It would be a red stripe. So if you line it up that way, that's how it's going to make your flag look like a flag. And since it's straight on, you probably want a little bit more detail in there. Let's go, and I'm not going to draw that flag, but you can see how that's going to be laying in there, right there. So let's go ahead and take a look at my Mr. Cat. Now, a little basket with a cat in it. Now, you can put anything in your basket that you would like, whatever might make sense to you. If it was going to be more 4th of July, maybe a watermelon would look cute in there. Different things. What else might you want to put in there? I'll be curious to see what you put in your basket. For those who follow along with me, I do have a Facebook page. There's always a post with what the drawing is going to be. And if you would like to share what you create, because it doesn't have to look like mine to be good, go ahead and pop that picture underneath there. I love to share everybody's drawings because I think you encourage people as well, because they see you give us ideas of what to do. And it most certainly doesn't have to look like mine to look good. And I like sharing people's art. So if you'd like to, go ahead and do that. My Facebook page is called Painting Crafty, just like my YouTube page. Well, let's put in a little cat. I'll show you how I drew it. So the cat, the basket is first. So we're just going to do kind of a U shape with a flatter bottom because it's got to sit on my bicycle. We're going to have that little U shape there. And then it's going to come across the top like this. Now to do my body, I'm going to start at an angle. So it's going to be an angle that way, and then it's going to come this way. It's kind of like an upside down U. It's just that this one has a little bit more of an angle. This one's a little bit more upright. So that's the back of my cat kind of. And then you could draw a little tail that comes down in here, sticking out of the basket. So cute, right? And then for the little face, I just did kind of a roundish circle at the top. Like that. Kitties always have ears that are kind of small, so they're not real big ears. This is a tuxedo kitty, so he's going to have a white patch on his tummy like that. And then his face, let's see if I can show just a little bit on this one, if I can show you the face detail. So here is his tuxedo area where it's going to be white. His face has this little band of white and a white muzzle. And his eyes are drawn kind of like a big people eye. You can draw eyes many different ways, but I thought it looked kind of cute to do it like a little point almond, like an almond eye. So it's got that look of coming like this where it's an almond eye. And then there's going to be a spot at the top that would be dark. And I'm going to be putting in a little white highlight in his eye. So it's kind of like a hue, but with those loops, and then his eye will be all colorful. Animals' eyes are always very colorful. There's not the white like in human eyes where we have the colorful part and then we have some white. Theirs is all colorful. So he has a green eye. Such a cute looking guy. Now I did put a banner in there with a waving flag, simple to put in there. You can just look at a wave. It's just a sideways kind of an S shape. God bless America. You could write whatever you wanted to do in there. So that is kind of the simple steps to do a drawing. And again, if you would like a little bit of help with drawing, you can always go over to my Ko-fi page and subscribe to my membership there for the tracers. I'd love to have these are the colors that I'm using. A Payne's gray, kind of a sky blue, an orangish red, kind of a more of a cool red too for my geranium flowers. And then I just have 2 shades of green that are going to be on my picture. I'm going to be starting with a little bit of black color. Now with watercolor, you always start light and then work your way dark. I'm going to be mixing to about tea consistency. I always have a paper towel in my hand. I give my brush a touch just to make sure to test how much water, how much stuff I have in my brush, so when I apply my watercolor, I don't float my area, flood it with a bunch of color. So I'm going to be just starting with the black. These little round brushes, this Princeton series, makes for a really nice brush because it has a great point on it. That point's going to pounce, or it's going to pop right back after you use it, and it's going to keep a nice point. I've had these brushes for quite a long time. They'll last you a long time. They're a synthetic brush, so they're not terribly expensive. But you most certainly can start with any kind of brush that you might have. Now what I'm going to do, this part, this style of draw or painting is very whimsical. This was a dry paper, and I'm just applying my color on here. This is going to dry slightly lighter, and I might have to put another layer of color on this. So I'm just going to be putting this color in. There's going to be some areas I will fast forward, because once I talk about like how I'm laying the color down or what I'm doing in that area, you can just watch and see how I put the color on. So let's go ahead and fast forward this, and I'll come back when I get ready to do my next parts. Now I have the first layer of my cat on. I'm going to want to choose another area to work on that's not touching my cat, because watercolor will flow wherever the paper is wet. So I want to make sure I give that kitty a chance to dry before I were to work next to him. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start a little bit of work on my bicycle. I have the stripes done, those areas there. I'm going to come up and do a little bit of work on my geraniums. So I'm going to come in with some clean water, and I'm going to come up a little bit higher here. This would be the red part. Well, it's cleanish, I guess. But I'm going to be making little puddles of color. And then once I have my little water puddles in there, I'm going to pick up a little bit of my red, and I'm going to just tap it onto my water and let that wet on wet blending happen. So that's my bluish red, and I think I'm going to pick up a little bit of my orangish red at the same time, and I'm going to be adding that as well. Now this color will dry slightly lighter, so I'm going to need to add a few more layers onto my color. And it's great to leave a little bit of irregular edge so it looks like they are little blooms of color on the top of there. So leave a little bit of white space in there and not fill it in all solid. Now the kitty's fairly dry. It's going to dry quickly, so I'm going to work a little bit on the basket, and I'm just going to be picking up a random shade of brown is what I'm going to be putting on there. I'm just going to be mixing a little bit off to the side, a little bit of a light brown color. And I'm going to add that all over my basket. Now my cat has this cute little bow tie on. I'm going to put that darker blue color on his bow tie. And I will probably be adding a little bit of Posca ink pen at the end to maybe put a little bit of white detail in there, maybe some just white polka dots to give it kind of a star look maybe. We'll see when we get to that part. But that's just my first layer of blue that I'm going to add there. Now I'm going to use that same shade of blue to do my bicycle in, and so I'm going to start laying that color in as well. The paper is dry, and I'm applying my wet color. The red should be dry enough. I don't have to worry about my colors floating up into those areas. I'm going to give that some time to dry, and I will probably add another layer of blue on there just to make another, deepen the contrast up to give it even more depth and interest into my painting. The blue for the flag, the inside field, I'm going to bump down a brush a little bit. I'm going to use a brighter blue for the field of where the star is, and I'm going to just put that on there, go around and paint around my star. Now at the end, I did use a little bit of the Uniball ink to strengthen my star shape, and you could do that too. Sometimes it's easy to lose the shape, but we can bring it back in with a little bit of the Uniball white ink. I use that same bright blue that I used for the field of my star down here. I'm going to use that for the pole. I like to be able to spread my colors around my drawings and paintings when I do them. So if I have a little bit of this at the top, that's just going to bring that color from here up to there. Compositionally, I think it looks great. Now my red is dry, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding the green this time. So I'm going to take a little bit of that clear water, just like I did originally, and I'm going to be popping in another area of where this will be where the leaves are and coming down. That's another reason why I didn't draw in the top of my basket, because I knew that these colors would be going on top and I wanted it to feel like they were flowers and not necessarily the flowers and the leaves and not the top of my basket. Now for the tires and for my basket, my inside basket, I just mixed a real kind of a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of brown, very light color, and I'm going to use that for the tires and for the basket. So I'm just watering that color down, giving it a tap on my paper towel before I start, and then I'm going to be adding that to my tires. There, now my bike is all connected. All right, let's work a little bit on the sidewalk down here since I'm kind of working there. I'm going to pick up that grayish color. I can also have a little bit of warm brown here, so I can have two. And when I do my sidewalk, I just want to make sure that I'm pulling kind of sideways. So to give it the dimension, this line here is drawn at an angle. I want to paint it at an angle too. All right, let's go ahead and do a little bit more work on my basket. I'm going to mix a similar color, just picking up a few browns, adding those on there, and then I'm going to be working around my banner that I put on there. So I'm doing a little bit of negative painting, so I'm carving those shapes out behind there. I'm going to also use this color for the handles. I'll let those dry, and then I will be putting in the banners. So now that this brown over here is dry, I'm going to be picking up some of my red. I think I'm going to go back to that brighter shade of red again, and I'm going to be doing the red boxes with that shade that I used for my flag. That's the same shade I'm using for my red boxes, but it will be a slightly different color because that brown is underneath there. So that's going to give it more of a little bit of a vintage look by having that brown underneath my red. Well, let's work a little bit on his eyes. So I'm going to be choosing a bright green for his eyes. I'm using this small brush, and I'm going to be just dabbing that green color in everywhere. This is such a small area. You're definitely going to want to make sure you don't have too much water on your brush when you come into those areas. And then add your little bit of green in. Now, if you need to lift, you can always take your brush and give it a squeeze after you wash it off, and it'll be slightly damp, and then you can come in and lift some of that color if you feel like you have too much color. But really try to make sure you tap that color off with that brush. I'm using a pretty small brush, but even then I still need to make sure I'm not adding too much color in right away. Let's see if I can hold that up to show you the green of the eyes, if my camera will focus. There it is. Now the inside of his mouth, I have just a tiny bit of pink over here that I have mixed. This is just a tiny bit of pink. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the inside of the mouth there. I'm also going to add that tiny bit of pink into the inside of her ears, or his ears, whatever it might be. So I've got just the tiniest bit of pink in there. coming alive. I will need to remember to put the whiskers on. The whiskers, once they get the whiskers on, then it's definitely going to look like a cat. I'm going to use a little bit of black here and do the nose and tap that in there. Now this could be done in a micron pen too, some of these smaller details. If you feel more confident doing it with a pen instead of a brush, you most certainly can go in with a brush. Now the pennants, I did do that darker blue color again, like I did the bicycle. Like I said, I like to move my colors around my painting. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that color and I'm going to come right in and lay that color in. Let's put a real nice washy background. It's going to be very light, so I'm going to be adding quite a bit of water to my background. I'm just going to be using that similar shade of blue that I used for my flag. So I just have this blue, kind of a sky blue mixed up over here. And definitely adding a lot of water. I do have a little bit of toilet paper sitting off to the side. For those who might have watched our landscape paintings, you know, we use the toilet paper for softening colors of those areas. Now I'm going to come in with a bigger brush and I'm going to go ahead and lay this color in. The watercolor part is fairly done. I'm happy with that. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of final detail using the micron pen as well as the Uniball pen. So I'm coming in and adding just a tiny bit of detail. I'm going to be doing some sketch motion with my hand. I usually do this with not necessarily intent of following everything exact, but more of a hand sketch look. It just adds that nice looseness to my painting and not exact. So when you go exact over your things, which is a nice look too, it looks more like a color book type of illustration type of a look, where if you kind of do these looser lines, loosen up your handwork on this, you're going to get more of a sketchbook kind of feel. So let's find a good spot to sign. I'm thinking I'm going to sign right there next to the tire. And I like to sign in pencil. So if I don't like it, I can change it. Well, that is it, my friends, for doing this fun little patriotic little kitten that's sitting in a basket, little tuxedo kitten. I thought he was adorable. And again, thank you so much for taking an art break with me, taking some time for yourself and creating. Even if these little sketches just stay inside of your sketchbook, you're taking some time for you, and that's important. Well, so thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully you'll come back and see me again.